to, and we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Hey Rockstar. I am Josafat Emiliano, coming to you all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, and today, I'm so excited because I have the one, the only, Diego Brawn. What's up,
Man,
Diego?
what's up,
He
man?
is okay. Wait, normally I give everyone a introduction, and Diego, man, when I first met him, he was just a starving musician. Just got here finding whatever place he could just stay warm. But he started going out there. He started networking. He was just his loving, friendly self. And today he's become a man who has done music, created music, has written songs, has started his own production. With now he is involved in film, music videos, and other things video related. Diego, welcome to Hey Rockstar, my man.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
I jokingly tell everyone that Diego's one of the first brown people I got to meet when I first met here in Nashville, and he introduced me to the other brown people, the other Spanish speakers in our network, and a lot of them are still good friends of mine to this day. Thanks to you, my man. And we've just had many great adventures. Now, Diego, it's not gonna be my. I mean, it is my show, and I can talk about myself all day long. But for those of you, or for those who do not know who you are, would you just mind just sharing a little bit about your story and your adventure?
Yeah, man. So I've been living in Nashville for about 6 years, and I I'm from Missouri, and so when I graduated high school, I was trying to decide if I should go to college or what I should do with my life, really. And I had actually applied to go to a college, JRLC, which is James River Leadership College,
Mm.
and I was going to be a youth pastor. I know, and last minute, a family friend of ours decided that they were going to move to Nashville, and I had gone to a festival there in Missouri, and I met a guy named Nathan Johnson.
Oh yeah,
Um, do you know Nathan
I
Johnson?
know Nate Johnson.
Okay, so yeah, Nathan Johnson was playing with an artist at a festival, and he had I had kind of told him a little bit of my dreams, and he said you should really move to Nashville. Like I think that your dreams could come true in Nashville. So that's what kind of got me thinking about Nashville. And so when the family friend of ours said they were moving to Nashville, it just seemed like perfect. So I was able to move with them, and when I arrived in Nashville, I found the belonging company, the church, and that's kind of how I got plugged in. So I showed up to the church, and that's really where we met, you and I. And I met a bunch of other just people, even to this day, that are still really good friends. But so I got plugged in there, and I started serving. Probably served for like a couple of years, just anything and everything. I was just so um, inspired to learn and just to meet people. And coming from that small town in Missouri, it was like everybody was just super cool here in Nashville, and they were all just doing great things. But so I got plugged in and basically fell in love with cameras and fell in love with production, fell in love with like just all the behind the scenes stuff there at the church. And obviously, like, my goal when I moved to Nashville was I wanted to be in the music industry, some like in some way or another. I wanted to either write and produce, or I wanted to tour. I just was so like interested in it. And I think so what had happened was I basically, back in Missouri, I like just randomly one day I told my mom. She had like paid for me to put it like a down payment, I guess, on this college, and it was non-refundable. And so I had to go to her and tell her, like, I think I want to move to Nashville. And she was like,
Wow.
I know my mom, she's so funny. She was kind of like, how do you even spell Nashville? What is Nashville? And so, but now looking back on it, I mean, it was kind of crazy to think that I was just going to move to some random city with a family friend and just figure it out, you know? Like, there really was no guarantee of anything, you know? It was like, go and try to do something, and hopefully you don't fall on your face and come home. But and so I think that's probably what motivated me the most, was there really is no going back. Like, I was
Mm.
like, I have to do something. I have to get ahead, like make something of my life. And so that's really probably what motivated me. But yeah, man. So now, fast forward now, I've toured for the past 5 or 6 years, full time with a bunch of different artists and on different tours, and do a lot of music videos now. So I do photo, video, and really just help artists create their brand, like just visually, like the content that they're putting out. The fact that now I'm able to work with record labels and artists that I used to look up to, or I still do. I is just mind blowing. Like I'm still so amazed at what God has done in my life. It really, in this episode, I really want to emphasize that yes, I worked hard, and yes, I like did my best, and I was motivated and driven, but I genuinely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God opening those doors. Because no matter how hard I worked or could have worked, I couldn't have done this on my own for real. I know it sounds cliche, but that really is true.
No, no, that's important to realize who you are and whose you are, because that's where I mean one of the main things that I like to push with everyone and encourage everyone is to recognize their identity. And when your identity is solid, then depending whatever comes your way, you can stand firm in on your ground, on your faith, on your beliefs. And identity is like the concrete or the foundation for your beliefs. But yes, no, of course,
Right.
we all know whose we are and who we give credit to. But let's start back a little bit. When you first got here, what was one of the first creative ventures that the opportunities that happened to just open up for you? Oh, first of all, before we go that route to that question, do you remember roughly how old you are when you first moved to Nashville?
I
I,
think I was,
I want to say you
man,
were 19.
yeah, I think I had just turned 19. Yeah.
And that always blew my mind because, like, whenever I was out there doing writers' rounds and meeting new people who had just moved here, not just you, others, that was around the age where they decided to come to Nashville at 19. I was meeting a lot of 19-year-olds just doing the music, going to the scenes and playing the open mic nights and trying out their wings. And those who stuck around now, many years later, are still here. Those who couldn't cut it, I haven't heard from them anymore. Thankfully you're still here. So let's look at the opportunities that were first presented to you, if you don't mind sharing. What was one of the first things that you like? Just someone can't kind of come up to you like, "Hey, man, I have this. Would you be interested in helping me out with this?" And that was like one way to start stretching your creative venture.
Man, I mean, I learned so much like whenever I was really, really serving at church for
Okay.
like, honestly, like I think I took about, like I said, a year and a half of just any time that the church doors were open, I was there just doing anything. If I was just, if I wasn't serving, I was like asking questions and trying to
Mm,
learn. But I think, man, I learned a lot there. And I think the people there, like the leadership, and even the people, that were over the teams, the serving teams, the camera team, all that, the fact that they would trust me a little bit more each week to kind of have a little more responsibility, and that they were just patient with me on like all the crazy questions I had. That was kind of like the beginning of me kind of owning, a little bit more responsibility in the church. And what had happened was, when I think about it, is I was sort of helping out at this studio, which one of our friends, Edwin's studio.
yeah.
I was over there hanging out, really just again asking questions, just fly on the wall. And there was an artist that came in, and they were having a session, and somebody that was with that artist, as they were leaving, I never really wanted to be this guy, but I had mentioned to him, I was like, hey, I really want to get into touring, and so if there's ever an opportunity, for me to be an asset on any tour, like I would love to do that. Like, it's so funny because like looking back on it, I wanted to be on tour so bad that like
Yeah.
I even thought to myself, I was like, I think I'd do it for free. I would just go out there, just I'm like, I want to do it so bad that I would just do it for free. And just it reminds me, I have to remind myself constantly today of like, man, I again, like I loved it so much that I was willing to do it for free. And so even today, like I said, I have to remind myself to think like, wow, I have to remember why I loved this, why I fell in love with this, because there are times when you're on a tour and it's show 35 and you're exhausted and you're like,
Yeah.
I just wish I could be home just to be home and feel normal and hang out with my friends, all that, go to church, but anyway, so no, but what's crazy is he had called me up. I think he had said like, oh yeah, man, for sure. But everybody in Nashville is just kind
Yeah.
of like, yeah, sure, sure. Um,
It's called being Nashville. For those of you who
yeah.
don't know.
And I was like, okay, sure. And what's crazy is I think he had called me the next day, texted me the next day and said, hey man, would you be down to go on a tour? And I was like, absolutely. And he was like, we're leaving tonight though. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, immediately I was like, I have a million questions. Like I don't even know where to start, like how do you even find where the bus is or get on
Yeah.
the bus, like all these things. And so I was just I remember that day and night very well, just being just so like, I can't believe this is happening. And so meeting up at the bus and really being thrown in the deep end, because I was actually kind of, I would say now looking back on it, I was stage managing a tour on my first tour. I mean, it was
Oh.
it was it was a church tour, but it was a lot of pressure. And looking back on it, I had no idea what I was doing. But that was I would say that was my big like open door. That was like, all right, give it your all, and you could make or break it really, because it's like I feel like sometimes in the industry, like you really got to make a good impression at first, and you
Yeah.
got to really work
Yeah.
hard so that people call you back. Really.
Okay, so once you got this first tour, the first gig, you got a taste for it. One thing that I also tend to talk to other people about is a thing called imposter syndrome.
Mm.
Have you heard of that term before? I didn't hear that term till like maybe just a few years ago. Whenever I started getting more into my niche, especially as a speaker, where you show up and all of a sudden you start feeling like, why am I here? Like, why did they pick me of all people? I mean, they're gonna figure me out that I'm a poser for some reason. But did you ever feel that this first time, or even still sometimes you feel like you got the wrong guy, but let's figure it out. Let's wing it. Have you ever had examples like that pop up in your journey?
Man, honestly, absolutely. I mean, I think about that first tour, and like you said, even to this day, like, but on that first tour, obviously, like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. So there were times when I
Oh,
was like, man, I mean, I can't believe, like, I was just mind blown that they would trust me to guide the show and make sure that the mic is out, and make sure that the cues, and make sure that the artist isn't going to trip going out on stage.
yeah,
And just it was like, wow, I can't believe that these artists and these managers and the people that put me on this tour trust me enough to do a good job. And so I think I was so like I said, just so honored that they would do that, that I was just so motivated to give it my all. Like there were days where it was, and even to this day there still are, it's like 16-hour days of you get up early and you load in, and by the time the show starts you're already exhausted, and then you
yeah,
still have to do the whole show and you have to load out. But no, and like you said, like to this day I still get that sometimes when again, when a record label will email me or call me or something and say, hey, we want to do a video for this artist. And in my mind I'm thinking like, wow, like I'm so honored that they would trust me, because to help with their brand, like to help with how the entire world sees them.
yeah,
When I make a music video for an artist, I'm like, wow, like they've put so much effort into their music, and now they're calling me to make and create something together that we can both be proud of, and that again the whole world is going to see them this way. It's like that is a huge responsibility, a huge honor. Like but again, I think that motivates me to give it my all and be creative as I can be, you know?
Sweet. All right. Now I know where I'm gonna go with this.
Yeah.
So we're in this industry now. That you had your first tour as stage manager. How long did you continue on as stage manager until, or in that arena until other opportunities started opening up for you? So when did you make the leap to visual creative content or content creative kind of person?
Yeah. I think I did. So that was my very first tour. Again, I was stage manager. And then I believe it was maybe my third tour. That same year, I was out with a band called Sidewalk Prophets. And
Oh yeah, those guys are cool.
yeah, man. And they're good friends. I haven't talked to them in a while, but anytime we see each other, it's just like we pick back up where we were. But I was on that tour, and I was on that one. I think I was helping with lighting. I wasn't stage managing as much, but I was just one of the crew guys. And one of the band members, the keyboard player, had mentioned to me like, "Hey, I need a photo for," and he had said, he's like, "I know you're not like a photographer or anything. I have a camera and I need a photo for something, either like an endorsement or something." He's like, "But obviously I'm on stage playing, so I can't take it. You know, I can't take a picture of myself. Would you mind if I just turn the camera on, set the settings? Would you mind, taking a picture of me?" I was like, "Sure, for sure." And I had, like I said, I was serving at the Belonging, so I kind of got my hands on a couple cameras, but I still didn't know anything really. I like when he handed me the camera, I was trying to figure out like, is this thing on or not, and like where is exactly like where do I hit the shutter and all that. But I took a couple pictures, and I was like, this is actually really cool. And so I feel like I fell in love with it in that moment, and I still had no idea what I was doing, or again, none of the technical side of things, but I was really excited to get creative. And as when I looked through the viewfinder, I was like, and it sounds cliche, but it really felt like I was looking into another world. It felt like I
Mm.
was looking at life through a different perspective, and that the way I looked at it in that moment, which I still try to remember that to this day whenever I'm shooting, is I really felt like I could somehow like stop time for a minute, like because like life moves so quick and the shows happen so fast and they're so repetitive that I felt like in each city, like when I took that shot of the guy, playing keys, I felt like I just stopped time for a minute, and I'm able to I can look at this photo in 20 years and remember how I felt then. And so that's probably what made me fall in love with it. And so I had told him, I said, like, I'd love to keep shooting photos. And he was like, dude, for sure. Like, shoot as many as you can and as many as you want. So that's kind of what started it after. And that tour is where I fell in love. And so I was kind of doing both roles for a while, just shooting photos for fun. But yeah, you had mentioned earlier too, like even before we started this, like I basically started offering these photos to all these,
Mm.
the players, and they really love them, obviously, because who doesn't want to look cool on stage? But but no, I think from there, as they were posting them, and as people started just sharing and seeing that I was doing more photo, that's kind of what started the snowball effect of other
Mm.
artists would be like, oh, you're the guy that's crew, but you do photos, right? And I'm like, yes. And then eventually it was like, hey, you do photos. And then eventually it was like, oh, I didn't even know you were crew. I thought you were just photos. It kind of like was just like a gradual, natural progression of like a shift of like, oh yeah, you're Diego, like you're the photographer. And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking like, I just picked up a camera like a year ago. Like I still have no idea what I'm doing. So
Oh my gosh, dude! No, that's some great stuff though. That you just dropped a lot of good gold there. About I love what you said about freezing time, or it's your chance to capture that moment because time moves so fast, and to when you see that viewfinder and you get a chance to just like this moment happened. This moment has been eternalized. It's now something that can be recalled by whoever pulls this up, and that's powerful, man. That's powerful to know that life happens, but you have the power to capture moments,
yeah.
and moments are very are just moments are memorable, but moments are very powerful in feeding us whenever we need a reminder. One thing that I like to tell everyone is because I just upgraded to a Fujifilm, but my old camera was the same camera you used when you first took off before you
Yeah.
bought your. Well, I'm sure you've already upgraded many more times since then, but because I was talking to Jeremy. He's a photographer last week, who specializes. Well, he specializes in headshots, but I met him at Salt with with um, with that crew, and he was just capturing some phenomenal stills throughout the whole event. And so, but we were just talking about it. Really doesn't matter about the camera if you have developed the right eye, or you've developed your style, you've developed what you like to capture. Because even like a toy camera, that's actually nostalgic, and people actually are now looking for that look.
Right.
But you have the eye, you have the way to capture that image, your vision that you
Hmm.
do things in. But I like to say that to me I treat it as art, and what I do with my Instagram is I capture moments, my random photo of the day. I capture a moment that my people and we witness that, because to me, art is can be eternal, but it also should be a moment that is once it's gone, no one else can recall that moment, but you and I share that moment. And that's what I do with my Instagram photos on my stories when I put a picture of the day. I don't, but anyway,
That's awesome.
saying all that, what were you gonna say? Did you want to
No,
add on to that?
that's awesome. I really love that perspective, man.
And it really
Cool.
forces me to keep training my eye, keep developing and seeing, or I see what everyone sees, and then I ask myself, all right, so how can I see this differently? How can I see this in a
Mm.
way that someone else has interpreted before? Or how can I add my signature to this with my vision, the way I see things? Which I think to this day, that's what we all are as creators. We are constantly just trying to put ourselves out in our work.
Totally.
All right, so you are now taking pictures. You're traveling. You're doing these things. When did you make the jump to video and cinematography and all that fun stuff?
Man,
Although that's what I see. Falling back, you and I, we met. Well, I mean, we met before that, but we served together doing cameras,
that's right. Yeah, the belonging. Um, yeah, man, like I said, so belonging, I kind
video
of got my
cameras.
hands right. I got my hands on a few cameras because, but again, they were just on tripods, and the director's calling shots, and you're sort of just panning and stuff. But I was able to kind of like understand video cameras over photography. But what had happened was I was on a tour with a good friend of ours, Danny Goki,
Oh, yeah.
right? And he had seen some of my photos, and he was like, "Yeah, like, can you take some photos?" And I was also stage managing, so it was kind of like stage managing, and I occasionally would go out and take some photos, which was it was tough because it was like
Yeah.
I'm trying to be creative, but then at the same time I'm like, oh my gosh, did I plug in the mic for the guitarist amp, or did I change the batteries in the packs or whatever, And so it was tough. But I had I had told him, I was like, I want to get into video too. And so he was kind enough to kind of just like let me play around with a bunch of different ideas that I had. Like I would, if his kids were out, I would take some videos of them, or if he was just kind enough to backstage, we would try different things. And looking back on it again, like as I was learning, it was like take 6 of him walking down the hallway because something happened, but like I said, he was patient and kind. And again, I have a lot of credit to give to Danny too, because again, he took a chance on me. and
Yeah.
and but that's kind of where I started with video. And I remember, again, I also have a lot of credit to friends of mine, because I would text a lot of different friends that knew more than me, and I would ask them like, "Hey, how do I even take a video from the camera to the computer and edit it? Like, what do I even edit with?" Like,
Really?
yeah. And
Okay.
like some, Sterling Graves, like, he's a photographer. And he does, I think, some video, but he had told me, he's like, you got to get Premiere. And so I got Premiere, and I was like, this is like rocket science. I have zero clue how to even import the video, But so again, that tour is where I started with video, and then ever since then, it became photo and video on the tours. And now it's a lot more video. Like I do probably 80% is video. 80% of it is video and video editing, and then 20% is random photo shoots. And artists still want photos on tour, but
Yeah.
videos just seems like social media is revolving around video, and everybody wants video. So
Oh no, for bet for that. Yeah, BTS is really starting to take off for me. Like yourself, I started off on doing production in other areas, but I have a camera with me, and when they're like, "Hey, we need pictures," so I will take it. And I'm trying to get into the part where I'm sharing stuff with like actors and people who can use stills of themselves to promote themselves for Instagram, because that's what everyone wants now. They want something that they can put on their social media, and they don't want the raws that they have to edit. They want it ready made. So
right.
that's why I like my Fujifilm, because the JPEGs are ready to go, especially if you've done the work ahead of time to get the eye and shoot it. But
Hmm.
and so I guess it's interesting that you need to learn your audience, or if you would, I don't want to say they're your clients, because I'm not sure if you had that game plan, if you had that strategy, if that was your part of your strategy, like, you know what, I'm gonna take all these pictures of all these key people, and then I'm gonna put them in a group and say, hey, by the way, here's the link, and be sure to tag me. I'm not sure if that was your intention. If it is, sorry if I let the cat out of the bag, but were there any surprises, or were there anything that you ever did that kind of was a happy surprise for you, that people like, hey, you did this and I like this, you should keep doing something like that? Did you ever learn and you or learn that you were naturally good at something that you never thought you would be naturally good at?
Man, I mean, honestly, again, like I don't want to say that I'm just great at video editing or directing or whatever, but something that I've grown to love that I really want to again do until the day I die probably is like I love meeting with an artist and
Mm,
hearing what they're trying to achieve, what they're trying, who their audience is, and what who they're trying to reach, and I guess what they want to be portrayed as, and then from there, like creating a treatment and again like all of the logistics of where are we going to shoot and how are we going to do it and the crew and how long is it going to take and like just the whole process of that. I never thought I was a very organized person because I again like when I was in school, I mean honestly I hated school. I remember a teacher had, I don't know what had happened. I think I was just super focused on music and I was like writing, and so sometimes I wouldn't go to class because I was writing something in my car or doing something. Um
cool.
and like I'd probably skip sometimes like, you know, A plus class or whatever it was called, to like restring my guitar because I was playing at the coffee shop that night. So it was like I need to practice for tonight. But anyway, so a teacher of mine sat me down and he was like, "What do you want to do with your life?" And I was like, "I I know I don't want to. I know I don't want to like just have the normal 9 to 5 job." And he was like, "That's not realistic. You have to think. You can't like. What are you gonna do here in this town? Basically, like that's not gonna be that. You know, everybody has to do the 9 to 5 job or whatever." And I was like, "I think I want to do music somehow." And again, I don't necessarily blame him because again, like I come from a small town, Bolivar, Missouri. Like there, nobody there is really like I don't know if anyone there is really doing music full time. No one, you know,
Mm.
and it's just like a different lifestyle there. So I know it probably seems super unrealistic to think I want to tour or I want to work with artists and labels or whatever, you know. But all that to say is like again, like I think ever since he said that, I had so much motivation to basically just I guess prove myself to myself and I guess part of it too was probably trying to prove myself to everybody back home that I was like I'm not going back because if I show up and I didn't do anything, I'm like I'm gonna be embarrassed. So I need to do something.
You know,
You
I
know?
feel that. I
Yeah.
feel that when I go visit my family, because you know me and you know where I've come and the things I've accomplished, but for some reason I feel like I should have done so much more. And those times when I'm like, I don't want to go back to my small town and people from my dad's church like or go see them. They're like, well, what are you doing with yourself? What have you been up to? Kind of situation. Like, well, I'm driving Lyft, I'm driving Uber, but I'm doing what I love kind of situation. Because you kind of there's that little bit of a dang it. And I even wrote a song, leaving to Nashville, where one of the key phrases is, "And I won't come back until I've made it big." Kind of, I can't come back to my small town until I made it big. But today, though, after seeing where I've done and things that I've become and how much I've matured, I realize that I do have a life here. I realize that God has given me a unique, or just a special plan that and the people that I've been able to impact in my own way. And so there's nothing to be ashamed about in that aspect. But I'm still, by far, I'm not done. There's still so much more creativity in me to come out, and it's starting to grow, and it's starting to like spitfire, or not spitfire. It's starting to just like, what's it called? Create momentum, and that's pretty. That's exciting for me. And I mean, I'm seeing you. I mean, you are so far. You've come so far from the Diego that I got to meet. That was dressed like a. No, I'm not gonna mention that.
Oh my gosh.
we had another one. We had another one of our mutual friends in the first season, who
Oh,
also, when he toured, Jimmy Healy, when he toured, now he found a love for lights, and that's what he does when he travels. He works with lights and the artistry of creating lights, and it's awesome how you both. I remember both of all of us were on the cameras one time,
you're right, man.
and
That's crazy.
oh man, and I remember sometimes I would be falling asleep during the message, and they call me and I'm off, and all I hear is Diego, "Orale, hey, pay attention." Like, oops, my bad.
I remember that.
We've come a long way from that. But I remember Jimmy's telling me like, I don't like this. I don't like running cameras. I mean, I did it because they needed it, but that's not what I'm passionate about. Like, all right, so he went after his thing. All right, Diego.
Yeah.
One of the things that, as a speaker, that I like to promote or like to encourage my audience is to detach from failure. Because when you are trying to go for big things, failure is inevitable sometimes, and things do happen. Now,
Hmm.
is there ever an occasion that you can recall and don't mind sharing where you tried something and didn't succeed? And if you wouldn't mind also share what helped you overcome the temptation to just stay there.
Hmm. Man, that's a good question, man. Like, I mean, there really are. I have, and not like I have made my fair share of mistakes. That's for sure. I think it's probably. I think when I moved to Nashville, I had a different perspective of just people and how you, I guess, like make it.
Yeah.
And I think I was so driven, and I wonder, but I really think there's a fine line between being driven and motivated, and also not overlooking people, I guess. So I think what the mistake that I think I made even when I first moved here was I may have not taken the time to actually really look people in the eyes and actually get to know them for who they were, and not be so focused. It's like you want to be focused and driven, but then it's like you also need to realize that, like, people are people, and you
Yeah.
you you also, like, can't just be trying to be friends with people because of what they can do for you, because at the end of the day, then you have a bunch of professional friends, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I think looking back on it, I don't know that I necessarily enjoyed the journey of even getting to where I am today, just because I was so driven. And
Oh.
I get that from like my mom and dad. They're super driven. Like whenever we came to the United States, they came over here for a better life, because again, like in Mexico, we didn't have the best life. And so they I think I get that from them, because they've always taught me, like, no one is going to give you a handout. No one is going to do you a favor and worry about your success. Like, you have to be the one to get ahead on your own. And but like I said, I think I looking back, the mistake I made was not really stopping to, one, enjoy the journey, and two,
Mm,
actually just get to know people as friends, and not be thinking about like either what they can do for me, or how I can help them, or now here, like I said, now that I'm not like super focused on like I have to make it or whatever,
yeah.
now I'm able to, I guess, just be friends with people because I want to be friends with them, instead of feeling like they need something from me, or I need something from them, or whatever.
Well, may I ask what changed in you that you now can approach people without an agenda?
I think, and I don't necessarily know an exact moment, but I think, and I don't even know what my advice would be for somebody that was the way that I used to be. It's that, because I feel like, now that I feel like that I'm at a much better place,
Mm.
um I'm not necessarily trying to prove myself to people back in Bolivar anymore. I'm not really trying to yeah.
He gave away the town.
Yeah. I'm not really trying to prove myself to anyone over there anymore. And I think, honestly, I think another thing too is I got married. I found somebody that I love,
Mm.
and everything, when I met this person, and whenever we got engaged, when I got married, it just, everything just changed. And I immediately started thinking, I'm like, man, I'm so focused on my career, my job, like opportunities, that none of it really matters. Like, and as I've been married for 2 years, not too long, but as we think about like one day even starting a family, I think about, like, man, like I left that town because I was so motivated on my career and my job opportunities, that now I find myself longing to go spend more time there, because at the end of the day, like, no matter how cool the opportunity is, like, none of these opportunities are going to love me back, or they're not going to 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 really be there for me, like my wife is, or like my mom is, or
Mm.
whatever. So I don't know. Yeah.
No, I like that. I like that. You found out who is important to you.
Right.
You found, like, again, it's all back to me. It's all goes back to identity. I know who I
Mhm.
am. I know who I fight for. I know who I'll die for. So everyone else who isn't invested in me, who isn't trying to help out, or has bad intention for me, I don't have to give them the time of day. Um, I love them, but doesn't
Right.
mean I have to. I've learned to set healthy boundaries, and so to me, I believe that's what's helped me. So when I approach people, I don't approach with an agenda because I take care of myself. I take care of the temple of the home, and so that
Mhm.
I'm full. And so whenever I go to others, I'm not trying to find from them, but on the opposite, I'm like, how can I help you guys out? And
That's
usually
great.
it's in the giving where I realized, well, they come up, they'll eventually like, well, can you also help us with this? And like, yeah, I can help with that. And the need, once the need is met, I find satisfaction in that, and somehow I also find the abundance to pay for bills and whatever, because it's just the whole give and it shall come back to you. It's a promise. It's a law, almost the law of sowing and reaping. But
Mm.
it's important. It's important that you know who's important to you, the people that are important to you, and those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones you force your energy and you give your energy to. And regardless of what haters or whatever will say against you, it doesn't really, it shouldn't sway you as easily or shouldn't knock you down.
Right.
That's maturity, my man. And
Mm.
we've come a long way. We definitely have come a long way from wherever small town we came from.
Yeah.
But no, Diego, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing these things. All right, so we hit on your creative venture. You're an entrepreneur. You are now a married man. Um, Anything else that you like to just kind of want to share about, or anything you want to ask about? Because this was supposed to be more of a conversation, but you have so much good stuff that I just kind of camped out on your story.
No, man, I just appreciate you having me on the show and stuff. And like it's really cool to see your journey too, for real, because we know each other, we hang
Yeah.
out, outside of, church or anything else, so I really feel like, you've grown so much too. And honestly, man, like I just have to say this, like even I was talking to another friend of mine, ours, Evan, right? And he was saying, he was like, you know what? He's like, I don't think I've ever seen Hosa not look on the bright side of things. I've never seen Hosa like not, you know, have a bad attitude or complain about something, and that, dude, honestly, I think that's why so many people here in Nashville, like I'll mention your name and they'll be like, I love Hosa. He's hilarious. I invite him to everything because he's just Hosa, and he's a light anywhere he goes. So it's just, seriously, man, seriously, thank you just for being you, and I'm just glad to know you.
Uh, I do have I have a comic relief malfunction button in me that I have to find the humor even in the worst of scenarios. I
Mm.
can find the humor in it. It just has maybe it's a defense mechanism, but it's just something. I was the clown of my family, but I still remember. I'm not sure if it was you or it was Nate, one of our mutual friends. We were at a party and he's like, "I'm just here for the commentaries that Jose has."
Yes, yes.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. No, I really do appreciate that. That's taken a lot of work. It's
Mm.
it's taken a lot of self searching, and it's taken a lot of. I practice meditation, but also practice something called shadow working, where I pull it all out, and I call it the demons. Although
Mhm.
technically we don't have demons in us, but I call it the ugly things, the stuff that people try to hide from themselves or hide from others, suppress, avoid encountering because it's not pretty, it's not attractive. They're worried about
Mhm.
what other people think, but I pull it out and I look at it, I observe it, I study it, I get to know it, and then I understand one thing. I'm like, for some reason, this is a part of me. God allowed this to be a part of me, and it being a part of me, though it's not pretty, there's something to value from it. There's something that I can grow from it. There's something I can learn from it, and it's something that can make me powerful because of this.
Mm.
Knowing that I own it, it does not own me. I control it. It does not control me. And there's just something about that state of mind that I can easily go into those moments where hell is happening everywhere, and I can keep that cool stoic mindset. But it's taken a lot of years of practice because when I was younger, yeah, I was easily over emotionally moved by a lot of things that that it would. I wouldn't really never really got into tantrums. I even asked my mom as a kid if I ever threw tantrums. She goes, not really. You never really were that kind of kid. Like, whew. But but yeah, it's yeah, I have had bad days, but I've also, because of the practice, I can sense it and I know how to pull myself out of the situation and say, okay, Josa, why are you acting this way?
Mm.
Is this benefiting you anything? Like, no. All right, cool. Then
Man,
we're
that's
back in
great.
control. Yeah. And then we just jump back in and then we know how to direct it from there. It's I'm thankful for that. That definitely is a skill I've had to learn, especially when I find myself in high stress moments in this industry, in when I'm directing, when I'm in leadership. Heck, I think I enjoy directing service better than being a camera operator. Because
Mm.
being a camera operator, I was falling asleep. But being a director, I am. I like you, and I love the way you said this. In the viewfinder, you see a moment that you can capture forever, or you can
Mhm.
stop time. I love the way you said it. I tell everyone whenever I go to service, when I go to direct the service, I see through 8 different eyes. I worship through 8 different uh, uh, fields of views. So
That's great.
basically, I'm having 8 different or 9, sometimes depending on how many cameras we have on, 9 different worship sessions at the same time. And my job then is to figure out how I can tell the whole story in one for one person. Well, I'm
Wow.
seeing 8, 9 different ways simultaneously. But that's when I empower those around me. I give them permission to explore, to create, and then I just like I say, I just let Holy Spirit help me guerrilla live edit the worship service. But it's a whole, because that can be a overwhelming thing. but I learned to get myself out of it, out of me, and just go for it and have fun and worship and just it's fun. I have more fun when I'm directing a live broadcast than when I'm just on one camera. Although I have fun with one camera too because I give creative shots. Other than that, man, I
That's
appreciate
awesome,
that.
man.
All that just say thank you for the compliment, Diego.
Man,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Evan. If you're watching, I told him I need to bring him on this show pretty soon. Um, Before we go, I want to pull up this guy. His name is this is Mark. He was on my show a few weeks ago for the Eclipse Lawn Care. He has some good stories about
Mm.
overcoming fear. He said, "Hey, rock stars," and he's one of the best bass players I have ever played because he can play reggae. He
Oh
can play
yeah.
reggae. Diego is not that far from being multi-talented. He plays, I know for sure, guitar and piano, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah. I play
I'm sure
guitar
you can
and
play
piano.
drums. Do you?
Man, I really want to. Like I don't own any drums, but I just the more that the more that I listen to music and honestly, man, the past 5 years have if I could go back 5 years and see the music I was listening to, it's completely different than what I listen to today.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, and I think a lot of that has to do with like I said, my wife Shelby. She her dad had she was raised, listening to Elton John and the Eagles and
Oh.
Kenny Loggins and like just good music, James Taylor. And she showed me a lot of that stuff before I was listening to like, no offense, but like Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato and all the top 40 stuff, which is great, but I really feel like there's nothing like listening to George Benson or Steely Dan or whatever, the Eagles, stuff like
Mm.
that. So, anyways, all I'd say is I actually have fallen in love with drums. I just need to sit down and learn, but I love it.
That's the one instrument that I could not. I mean, unless it was norteño, I couldn't play drums. I mean, my respect to those guys who can keep rhythm, like Austin. When I see
Yeah.
him play, I'm like just blown away. Just how much
Oh,
fun he has and how versatile he is, and it's just it's
so cool.
insane. But other than that, well, we're gonna go and start bringing this down. I want to say thank you to you, Diego, for being here, and I thank you for sharing the stories and your journey from being a boy who just showed up to Nashville with crazy dreams, and now a man who has completed many other things as a musician, as a creative content creative, as a manager. Man, that's leadership role right there, as a man who's now a husband who appreciates his wife, his family, a son. You just so much to you. There's so much depth into you. There's so much substance in your life, man. And you're
Mm.
still young. You're still very young. There's so much more living. I can't wait to bring you back whenever you've, I don't know, won your first Grammy for something, or I don't know whatever we can win
Let's
here.
go, man.
One more shout out from Eclipse Lawn Care. Great show. Just here editing and listening to y'all. I need this guy. If you ever get a chance to check out his Twitch streams or even on Facebook, sometimes he'll just start jamming to his bass player, Diego. Just he'll play some music and just pull out a bass and he just starts
That's
jamming
awesome.
out, or he'll play some games. But other than that, let me go and let me go and start winding down the show. Um, any last comments that you just kind of want to throw out there?
Man, I honestly, dude, whoever's listening to this, like I really feel like, man, I if I could go back and tell myself something, and and
Mm,
and here's the thing, if I could have gone back, if somebody would have told me this, I wouldn't have listened. So if like when I say this, I feel like whoever's listening may not even listen, but it's like it all works out. It all like we stress about so many things, and in the end, it's like it it all works out. And my mom always tells me, she says, if it doesn't work out, it just wasn't meant to be. Like it sometimes, again, if you're listening to this and you're wondering like, I just want to get a break or I just want to do big things or whatever, it's like I really genuinely feel like God has you exactly where he wants you. And just be be in the moment, like be yourself, and find what, even the creatives out there, it's like find what makes you unique. Because again, I probably spent a few, years trying to mimic what somebody else was doing, or comparing my life to somebody else. Because again, social media does that.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's just be you, find what makes you unique, and just honestly just chill out. Like it's all gonna work out. That's pretty much it.
I find myself these days saying, quit comparing your work to others.
Mm.
And then on the other extreme, someone tells me, "Hey, I love what you did," and like, awesome. So I'm doing something good. It doesn't have to be like that person. It's me.
Right.
My signature's
Totally.
coming out. No, well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been episode 57 of Hey Rockstar. I called it Making It Happen, featuring Diego Brawn, the myth, the legend, the friend, the first guy you need to meet when you come here to Nashville, and definitely not the last person. Meet him and his lovely family, or his wife. And you don't have any pets, do you?
Actually, I don't, but we just
Uh-oh.
put a deposit down on a dog, and we're
Woohoo! Can't
getting
wait to
him
meet
in
your
a month.
doggo.
Let's go, man.
I might be. I got to double check my landlord, but I might be adopting a bearded dragon for my niece.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
see. We'll see about that, but definitely will be an addition to the Hey Rockstar. So might as well go and bring it to the end. All the way from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Josafat Emiliano. There's Miguel right there. Diego is. Let's see. I can't find the camera. All right, Diego's right there. All the way from Nashville, Tennessee. We just want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for letting us into your homes. Thank you for letting us into your cars. Thank you for letting us into your hearts. So until next time, Rockstar, have much love and many blessings.